I will be sure to turn my volume up. I will be turning y'all's volume up. And greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. And yes, I said I would be sure to turn my volume up because the last recording we did, which we didn't get to release because it was messed up. Somebody, just didn't let me turn on my audio when I was recording my audio, so I don't know who to blame. I mean, we were tentatively blaming Kane, and he's not here to defend himself, so it couldn't have been my fault. So it must have been Kane's fault. We'll just leave in the comments below saying, thanks, Kane, we're going to have to re-record that one. Or something along those lines. But seriously, I forgot to turn on my audio recording stuff from my side. It got theirs. That's not fair to you guys, because then you guys don't get the whole conversation. So we're going to re-record what was the healer one after we get done with the other two, which we're going to do one tonight. We have the DPS role, the person who's supposed to be doing the damage, or at least a big portion of the damage. And then we have the support role, which is like a buffer and a debuffer, and topping everybody off on different things. So we're going to probably roll a D4 to see which one we do. So before we do that, this is an adult podcast that sometimes features a few of those adults that use adult language. You have been warned. I think you're pretty safe today because, like I said, Kane's not here to defend himself. But other than that, do remember that if you want to support the Inn of Planar Crossroads, you can do so at Patreon. If you want to support the Black Dragon Gaming, you can do that on Patreon. Avenue Studios has yet to tell me if they do have when they do have a Patreon or a Subscribe Star or whatever they're going to do. So once they have it, you will see it announced here. And I think that's everything. So, you guys ready to get into the chat?
Let's do it.
I'm good.
All right. So, let's go over to the page. And odds we'll say odds is the DPS, evens is the tropey kind of support role. So,
sounds right.
1. Okie dokie. So, that means it's DPS. So
it's perfect for DPS because he always wants to be first in the fight.
They don't want to be first. They always want to be top meters. Who's getting the most damage? Number 1. All right. I killed the most monsters.
Yeah.
All right. So, we usually start with Pathfinder and then go into Open Legend. We'll kind of keep that up. Let me see. We'll start with Levi, I guess. We haven't started with Levi in a while. So, Levi, what would strike you as the typical DPS person, the one who's focusing on the damage? What would you think?
First thing first, I know we also threw it around for the tank, but Barbarian?
For that physical DPS?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For that physical DPS, you get something big, you get big muscles, you swing it real hard. It's it's nice, it's straightforward, and things should fall in front of you. Mm-hmm. A real fun one, Titan Mauler.
Oh, yeah.
You just wield the largest of weapons you can and smack them back down on people.
Yeah, Titan Maul.
Yeah, you stole mine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, you Titan Mauler, and then you get the big butchering axe that they have that has the ×3 or something damage, and then you get somebody to grow you up big and stuff.
You start as a Trox.
Yeah, you start as a large creature.
And large impact Titan Mauler.
Yeah.
Fun fact, if you throw all that together, you're wielding a 12d6 weapon.
Mm.
And then you Vital Strike.
Yes.
And then you take a thing to end your rage to maximize the damage on your Vital Strike.
And then you have a little buddy in your backpack who's your support that automatically gets rid of your fatigue at the end of your rage. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot of damage.
It's a lot.
Like, it's a lot.
I can speak as someone who's played that type of character, not a Trox, but a Tiefling that did it. And I was looking at 500 and something damage if everything turned out right. Close to 600 damage. In one shot. It was with a Vital Strike. So
it can get beautifully horrifying.
Yeah. But if it didn't pan out, I was only at like 400, so...
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I feel your pain.
Yes. So you're saying, Levi, Trox, Titan Mauler, Impact with the Butchering Axe.
Yep, and you can take some Rage powers to take the Demon Path to enlarge on Rage.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me about that. So that you end up the size of a kaiju.
Well, you only end up huge, but your weapon is bigger than a kaiju and weighs as much. And you're throwing that around, and it's real good.
Another route to go for the DPS physical side. And instead of it being the anger of the barbarian, it's the peace and calculation of the monk. Because that flurry of blows get ugly.
It's not as floaty as a barbarian, yeah. With their up and down.
Yeah, it's more consistent. DPS. Yeah, you lose some of that absolute one-shot kill, but you can do multiple two-shot kills in the same round.
Yeah. And there's a path with the monk that can also do... The flurry of blows can be done with any monk weapon, and there's several monk weapons that have some nice effects that can be put on them. I mean, if you want to get really crazy, you can use a bow. Like the bow staff. And then you got both sides going. And you're splitting up into like what Tommy's got going on with like 8 attacks. It becomes... Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Blender.
A blender. So that's 2 options for physical. I would put another third option in there myself for a rogue because of sneak attack. If you can pull off sneak attack, it's kind of like with the barbarian doing the vital strike. It's a one done deal, but if you can hit it, you're going to do massive amounts of damage. If you're a rogue tricked out into sneak attack damage, you can definitely get numbers that are peaking somewhere in the... I mean, I've never been to a level 20 rogue, so I couldn't speak to that. But even lower levels rogues, if they can get that sneak attack off, because you don't necessarily have to be not seen, they just have to be flat-footed. If you can pull off that sneak attack, you can do a lot of damage as a physical rogue.
Especially if you go on chain, too.
Yeah.
Dex
So
damage
ridiculous.
helps so much.
And you get a similar effect with the investigator class. It's just not quite as powerful, but adaptable. Because it doesn't matter if your sneak attack, it's not a sneak attack. It doesn't matter if they're denied, you still can do studied combat. Studied strike.
Yeah. On a fun note of that lighter weapon fighting, a paladin who 2-weapon fights, whatever he's smiting, is throwing down a lot of extra damage.
That is true.
It is pretty. I did that in a Pathfinder game. 2-weapon paladin. It's pretty solid.
Because you're adding your level to each hit.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And with Pathfinder, it's always that focus. Like, I was really good against evil dragons and stuff, so if I was fighting one of those, it was, like, ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
No.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead, sir.
You don't have to call me sir. I know I'm old.
No,
I get called
call my
sir, and
two-
I'm the youngin' around here.
Yeah.
It's the instinct.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how old Dan is, so.
That's true.
Dun, dun, dun.
The question is whether or not he's half my age or more.
But
Everybody can guess in the comments.
yeah, guess in the comments what Dan's age is, and he will probably not confirm for you. So,
And that would be my physical age, not my emotional or mental age.
Sure, yes.
so
Because mental age, I might be a little younger than him.
I don't. You're very kind. I was just going to throw out, I was curious just because I don't know Pathfinder well, but what about a glass cannon type class? Something like a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he doesn't get hit, he's going to do massive area damage or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We talked
If
about
I'm
that
going
a
for that,
little
I'm
bit.
going sorcerer.
Yeah.
Same here.
I would say
Like-
sorcerer or arcanist from the other book, because you can, as an arcanist, you can do a bit more.
Right. But if you've been watching Tommy's Min-Maxing Fun Profits, you know that sorcerer, dual bloodline, orc, and draconic bloodline.
Oh, yeah.
You're adding an additional 2 damage to every damage dice. And you're throwing it out like 5d6, 10d6, 15d6 in an AoE.
Now
So
that's
that's like
for
5d6 plus 10.
that's an orc for fire, right?
I don't remember exactly how it's set up.
I
Let
know
me-
that orcs get a bonus to their fire damage.
Okay. Then
And
you
that's-
probably choose a dragon who does fire as well.
And that's kind of my hang up on using just now. If you know you're going to face something that has no resistance to fire, you're golden. That's really good. The reason I say admixture, as far as the arcanist, is because the admixture arcanist can change the element of their attacks. If you want an icy fireball, if you want fireball style damage but with an icicle type explosion, you can do that with the arcanist. And when you do that, you're able to actually maximize the amount of damage you're doing because you're working to their weaknesses. And if you are able to do that, you could probably achieve more DPS than just going straight for the damage dice. Because sure, you could go and fight a fire dragon that
Orc
has...
is not fire damage.
No,
Okay.
it's...
So where are we looking?
Okay, orc is unspecified. Draconic when you cast a spell with an energy descriptor that matches your
So
draconic
the
bloodline
draconic you would
energy.
have to choose. So if you want to go for something of this sort, you might just pick orc bloodline. Although at the same time, I see your point that if you're fighting things with resistances and weaknesses, you could get more out of picking the right weaknesses than just one per.
Because I for some reason I thought it was just fire because of the orcs. Maybe it's a favored class option they get or something.
Could be.
Barbarian, druid, fighter. Are we? You're looking at full orc, or are you looking at half orc?
I'm looking at orc bloodline
Oh, orc
of the
bloodline
source.
of the sorcerer.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's different than what I was talking about. Okay. I see what's
Gotcha.
being said now. Yeah. Because I remember the half orcs or the orcs having a fire boost, but not a
I see
straight
what
up
you mean.
boost. So there you go. So we'll go over to sorcerer so people can see.
And goblins with the pyromaniac or pyromancer.
Mm-hmm.
they add a chunk in as well.
So you play a goblin a pyromaniac that has... I mean, if you're going full on fire, goblin, pyromaniac, orc bloodline, draconic bloodline, fire, red. And you just completely, absolutely max out the fire damage. I think Ifrits get something similar to their fire-related spells.
Would make sense. But oh, come on. A little sorcerer just absolutely torching everything.
Yeah.
It's a good image.
Yeah. The little bitty goblin, playing up the trope of the pyromantic goblin as your... Because they are literally only about, what is it, this big? Something like that. 2.5 feet tall-ish. So, that guy just walks into a bar, nukes the place because he's got fireball, and he doesn't care how big the room is because he's got immunity or something like that. Just...
Yeah.
Town people didn't even know what hit him. And the only reason he adventures is because he has to keep trying to find things bigger to burn. Because eventually it just got too easy nuking entire taverns.
You got to get better to nuke the entire village at once. And after that, there's always cities.
So you move up from village, you move from Trope to village to cities to capitals.
By the time you get there, you turn into the big bad evil guy of a different campaign. Everyone's been hearing of all these places torching to the ground, and there's stories of either a dragon or a demon roving through the place because no one wants to admit that it was a goblin.
Yeah, just a goblin.
And then you get there, and you see a goblin, and you're looking for the big bad evil guy, and then you all make reflex saves.
What a great one shot.
That's true.
That would be really good.
All right.
Was that one shot TPK or one shot campaign?
Well, it was supposed to be a campaign. It turned into a TPK, and it was a one-shot. You just didn't know until after it happened.
Surprise.
Welcome to the campaign. You're all dead. So,
build new characters for this world.
You now all serve the Fire Lord. Fire Lord. Oh no! No, seriously, that's my name. Oh no! Because that when people coming, they see me coming, they say, "Oh no!" So oh no.
That, and I just remember the movie Ice Age with the small sloths that start to worship Sid, the sloths.
Fair enough. All right.
There's your belated Father's Day joke for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think as far as blasters, which is basically what a DPS is, it's a blaster. Whether that's physical or arcane, it can be hard to beat a sorcerer for the arcane. It's hard to beat that big Titan Mauler Barbarian too for the physical, but that's you can run into some problems with the Titan Mauler simply because of size if you're in a confined space.
Yeah. Walking around as a huge creature can be hard.
Yeah. Especially when you're a large creature to start with, dungeons are not designed oddly around large creatures. Considering how many large creatures there are that make the dungeons, Paizo. So
what you do is you wield an adamantine blade and you just vital strike your way down into the dungeon.
Because you can do that as the vital striker.
Being that right now I'm playing a large creature in the Wrath of the Righteous game over on Black Dragon Gaming. Yeah, large creatures are not meant for tunnels. Just not fun.
Which is odd because it's the large Umber Hulks and stuff like that dig the tunnels. So.
Oh, but you know, as the Trox for that build, you do have a burrow speed.
That's true. But I actually like the tremor sense better than the burrow speed. That's just me, though.
Yeah. But, like, if you're gonna get stuck in hallways, the burrow speed is pretty nice.
Yeah.
The tremor sense is a way better defensive ability, but...
There's also that option of grappling somebody as a Trox, which they're already good at, and then dragging them underground and leaving them there to tenderize. So.
Yeah.
But I think we've kind of talked about some of the blasters you can use, the DPSers you can use in this one. It is a different magical bent than someone who's a controller, like we talked about before. That really frail glass cannon to control is different than the very frail glass cannon that's there to blast. Because they do serve two different roles. But if you want overlap in your group, you can totally do that. If you don't, then you can have your DPS from both of them, but the physical is usually going to do more damage than the arcane if they're not specializing in it. So, of straight out damage. So, anything on the Pathfinder stuff before we move over to Open Legend?
Archers can throw down good damage. There's a lot of ways to build a good archer.
That is true. An arcane archer can throw out some good damage at range.
And rogues using the Knife Master archetype.
That's one of the rogues. Yeah. If you specialize them into sneak attack as a Knife Master.
Gets bloody quick.
Yeah. I ran for one of those. So yeah, it can be nasty. All right. Let's switch over to Open Legend. So Open Legend, for being a DPSer in that, covering the physical and covering the more extraordinary. I'd say the main things you'd focus on as a physical is going to be the physical might and fortitude and agility. So we'll let Dan kind of take this one over.
All right.
And start this one off.
Yeah, the physical, I think, pretty... You can't pass up the battle trance feat because of what it gives you access to later.
Honestly, it's hard to pass up the battle trance feat for any true DPS.
Yeah, because what it does is, in the battle trance, you have advantage 1 on all attacks. Just doesn't matter what you're doing. And that, if I remember correctly with the phrasing, that means Banes and physical attacks.
It does.
Yeah.
That it does.
So, right off, and what I have this pre-gen for games I do at conventions that's a barbarian at level 1. Battle Trance and Indomitable Endurance, which shrugs off a level of fatigue, which you're supposed to gain at the end of a Battle Trance.
So basically you're rage cycling without there being a cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's Fortitude is definitely Battle Trance you get access to through Fortitude. You can do it through Will, but the higher up ones, the other things you want later on, you want Fortitude, I think, up to 7.
You want Fortitude and Will up to 7 if you want, but those are more the defensive sides of it.
Right.
So you only really need 3 Fortitude to get in.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm thinking of Destructive Trance, which is...
Right. That you need Agility, Might, Energy, or Entropy 7.
Entropy. Yep, that's right. Which that one's huge, because that one lets you re-roll dice, because dice explode in Open Legend. So you roll your max, you get to roll again. With Destructive Trance, while in a Battle Trance, you re-roll your max and 1 less. Next, on a 6 or a 5, it explodes. And that's huge because in Open Legend, your damage is your attack roll minus their defense stat. Mm-hmm. So the more dice exploding, the more damage you're doing.
Yeah, it gets real scary real quick. Especially because, if you want to play that stealthy... what's the surprise attack feat that gives you advantage 1 per rank? It also lets you deal lethal damage, and they just have to have been unaware of you, or like have a hard time
Lethal
defending.
strike.
Lethal strike. That's your assassin-y setup.
Yep.
So you're throwing down a lot of advantage.
And cool thing with lethal strike is either they're caught off guard or they're within melee attack range of an ally. That also counts as a lethal strike.
So if you've
Yeah,
got somebody
that's
with
pretty good.
reach, offering a lot of threat area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, if you get someone with a 10-foot reach or something like that.
But this
Make
destructive...
yourself a polar master to be part of that team.
Right. It could be kind of your tank, because I think we talked about with the tank possibly having pole arms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This destructive trance actually enters into an interesting build if you played a necromantic rager. If you themed yourself around that burst DPS necromantic Grim Reaper rager that just enters the trance, and his trance isn't the rage trance, it's a laser focus on his one. He is the Grim Reaper. He walks to his target. He
might even
run.
actually take. He might take fatigue from like channeling the spirit of death.
Yeah. Or you could flavor it like death actually takes him over for a time, so it's his soul slowly slipping into death.
Oh. And then you take multi-attack specialist.
Yeesh.
And you let him spec into entropy so that afterward, not only does he necromantically do that, but depending on how you work necromancy in your game, that as punishment for their sins, whether he deems that whether they're actually sins or not, he counts them sins. And he says, for penance, rise. And
now I'll throw out, there's just so many. I was going to throw two, on the physical side of it is 2-weapon brute on top of that.
It's real nice.
That allows you to wield two-handed weapons, which gives you a total of advantage 2 when you're wielding them.
Oh, you're literally an arms warrior from WoW. You got both the big dual wielding thing. That's so awesome. That is an awesome motif. That is an awesome motif.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous with battle trance, because now you're talking about as long as you're swinging those two-handed weapons, you're advantage 3 on your attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In battle trance.
Then you throw in reckless attack and you deal damage to yourself to attack again.
Yes. There's barbarian-esque type builds or just DPS builds are a lot of fun in Open Legend.
It's hard to pin this down because there's a lot you can do.
Well, Open Legend has a lot of openness to its ability. You can deal damage with anything almost.
Pretty close.
Pretty much.
You got 2 options for your damage dealing. And really, if you did want to go with the sly rogue, then you can still do the trance stuff if you want to, but if you want to go in with more sneak attack type stuff, then there are things you can do that with.
Right.
You're probably not going to... You can still do a 2-weapon brute as a DPS rogue, because it can be agility 4.
Like 2 elven longblades?
Yeah.
Equivalently?
Yeah.
And what's the other? There's another sick assassin-y, since we were talking about the rogue and...
Death Blow?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Basically, if you reduce them to... Oh, what is it?
At tier 1, it's 5 HP or less. They go straight to 0. At tier 2, it's 10 or less. Yeah. And then on top of that, with tier 2, if you don't get them to 0, they're automatically stunned. And you can still, on an exceptional success attack, do another Bane. So you could potentially, if you don't get them to 0, you could hit them with 2 Banes on top of the attack.
Yeah.
That's pretty brutal. Yeah, especially the HPs are lower in Open Legends, so there's a good chance you could get a hit down to 10 or 5.
Yeah.
And the lethal strike
And then you
is, I mean, if they survive, we're talking about a boss surviving, because if it's a minion, they're not likely to survive the lethal strike
right.
at those tiers. Because you have to have tier 3 to get the last one. That's advantage 3 up to 10 lethal damage. Not a lot of things are going to have 10 lethal damage available to do in Open Legend when you hit, maybe at tier 3, but not always. Because if you're dealing with a caster, not likely. not unless they have some kind of attribute substitution going on or something. So,
and if you just throw on combat momentum and combat focus on top of that, as long as you're getting someone to 10, you're going to get another attack because it drops to 0.
Another move.
Yep, and another move. So you could theoretically just go around the whole battlefield.
Oh, well, that's how you build a DPS that is actually the Flash. There you go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you combine that with multi-attack specialists, so you have more chances to make sure they die. And every time they die, you get another move and another attack.
You do attribute substitution movement for... Well, you don't have to necessarily movement for agility.
Yeah, but movement for agility is real nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. And I will throw out, we're talking about higher level here too, because your agility has to be 7 for tier 2. So what's that level?
5.
I'm blank at 5, yeah.
Now,
level 5.
I was just going through it myself, and I'm no expert in Open Legend, but the feats combat follow-through and combat momentum both look very interesting.
They're real fun.
As soon as you bring a enemy to 0 hit points, with combat follow-through, you get to make an extra attack as a free action. And with combat momentum, every time you do the same, you immediately move up to your normal speed. So that just sounds like a way to, merge, a light fighter just moving in, sticking everyone in the neck as they go by, or your tank just walking slowly forward and just mowing down people.
Yeah, it's great mental imagery.
Yeah, because there's no requirements for either tier of those things, and they cost a grand total. Combat follow-through and combat momentum only cost 3 points altogether. Feet. So you could have that image at level 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, deadly attack, combat momentum, combat follow-through. You appear suddenly, kill all the mooks, and get a free attack on the boss.
Yep.
Let's hope the boss doesn't do anything to you after that, though.
Oh yeah, you can
because you immediately become threat level number 1. If you
hopefully your allies help you not get completely smacked down, but it might happen.
I will throw out too, just for still keeping the same battle trance stuff, but thinking of the fireball wizard or something, as you had mentioned before, the multi-targeting. So throwing that on top for area. What was I thinking? There's another one where you can focus in area attacks.
Are you okay? So are you thinking of multi-target attack specialist?
Yes, I believe so.
Where you can reduce the disadvantage for multi-targeting.
Yeah.
So you could make a giant cube of necrotic energy for no disadvantage. And
you can still, I would say, work up to that. Get the battle trance. Probably get reckless, or not reckless. Destructive trance on whichever extraordinary you're doing, and then start reducing the disadvantage.
Yeah, because just single attacks, you'll be doing lots and lots of damage, let alone trying to throw in giant balls of doom.
Right. And if you feel like a nice person, you could throw an area manipulation on there, but
you don't have to.
You don't have to.
The tank can be there. He's got the hit points. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast Fireball.
Right.
Exactly it.
So this is how you actually build Megumin from Konosuba into
Yeah, you take energy instead of entropy, but yes. Yes, it is.
So,
And with the guy, the chunky salsa effect from Shadowrun comes to mind.
Yeah, it's sadly, your GM could give you extra advantage on the attack roll for like how big of an attack you were doing in a small space, but sadly that doesn't intrinsically happen.
Right. That's true, though.
Chunky salsa, very spooky.
It is interesting. If you wanted to take a techie turn to it, you could still do that whole multi-attack specialist, but what you theme it as is you're controlling a bunch of drones, little tiny razor drones that are shredding. If you wanted that tech-styled thing to the...
Mm-hmm. And I mean, great thing about Open Legend is the flavoring. I love the idea of combat momentum and any of the speed stuff, thinking it's like stims or some kind of drugs you're taking.
Jet?
Cybernetics. Yep.
Yeah.
I like the idea for battle trance of being some kind of like, discontinued army narcotic.
Right.
Leaves you exhausted afterwards.
They give you PCP.
Yeah, exactly.
And this PCP is scary. Because you can't, if you take we talked about it with the tank thing, but if you take the right stuff, you can't die until you're out of combat.
Right.
So that's a little more than just PCP.
Well, yeah.
That's like Halo Spartan 3 level stuff going on.
All right.
For those Halo nerds out there.
So there's actually a lot of room for a DPS.
Yeah.
A blaster.
Just two quick things.
Mm-hmm.
The feat's Extraordinary Focus
Mm.
lets you treat the stat as one higher.
Yeah.
And it's Martial Focus.
Martial Focus, yeah.
If you want to do the melee character, you pick a weapon, you focus on it, you treat your stat as one higher. If you want to be the magic character, you take Extraordinary Focus. You have an object that is kind of the source of your power.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite example, again, is I had a ring that had the soul of a lich in it. That was how a character got his entropic power.
Perfect.
And it was stealing his soul to power itself.
Yep, that's
it was
perfect.
Good.
And again,
but if he ever lost the ring, he couldn't do it. But he had stronger entropic powers.
My precious. So.
Yeah.
And then
combine that with your advantage. It's great.
The weapon focus, does that only work for a single weapon, or is it a weapon group, or what?
I believe that changes based off of how restrictive the idea is in your campaign. Like, choose a single weapon. When making attacks using your chosen weapon.
What's the feat?
I think you can still dual wield.
Yeah,
Martial Focus.
Oh, martial.
Yeah, it's like a single combat style. I don't think it's the physical weapon as much as, like, my focus is, I don't know, kukri. Like, I have trained with the specific type of blade, and if I pick up any other kukri, I'm still good.
Okay.
Yes, It says choose a single weapon or unarmed combat and specify the attribute your martial focus relies on. Because of your intense focus on a single combat style, any attacks that you make without your martial focus suffer a disadvantage 1.
Okay.
And the key with these two is it's big on the damage side. You don't gain the feats, bangs, boons for a higher attribute. It's just for your dice rolls. But again, the dice roll is what determines your damage.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got good advantage and you're rolling higher dice, numbers go up.
Yeah.
Take
Bane Focus Death. If you succeed by 5 or more, they start to die.
Bane
or persistent damage.
That's if you want to make them bleed from all their orifices as they
bleed,
walk
have
into
their soul
aura.
ooze out. maybe as they try to breathe, they hit some jagged flecks of bone that you crunched in.
Yeah, that's good. Assassin's blade with poison on it.
Yeah, there's a ton of ways.
All right. Well, with there being a ton of ways, we could go on for a good long while, but we're not going
yeah.
to.
People.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you had a good time listening to us chat about a bunch of nerdy stuff and how to build a DPS or a blaster or however you want to say that, whether that's physical or magical. So, any final words before we sign off, guys?
Have fun killing things.
There you go.
Yeah.
That won't set off any kind of search engines on us, or we're
Nah.
probably all on watch lists already, so it doesn't matter. All right. Have a great day. God bless. Enjoy. Remember to check out Avenue Studios, which is doing their Open Legend games. Bye.
Yes.
And remember, it's never the character, it's the player.
Okay. Bye.
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 This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.